We are joined by the nominee's wife, Ann Romney. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, George.
And let me begin also by thanking you very much for your kind words about Robin yesterday. Everyone here appreciates that.
Well, you know, it's amazing what she's going through right now. Our love is with her. She's lost her mother. I don't think there's a harder thing we do in our lives is to lose our mothers. So our thoughts and prayers, Robin, they're with you.
Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about last night. America saw a lot more of your husband in a much more personal way than they ever have before. How hard was that for him?
He was backstage. I can tell you, for me, it was a thrill because there were people there that had been in our past that they just thrilled me to death. Those were the stories that really, I loved America hearing, because that's the lens through which I see my husband. And
I read last night that in the moments before Governor Romney went out, he was backstage reflecting on a photo of his father.
Wow. It was interesting. When my son Craig was speaking, he spoke at the convention last night too, and he said that there was a moment when Craig choked up, and he said, "The reason I did, Mom," he says, "I sensed that my grandfather was standing right next to me." And I'm sure he was standing next to Mitt too last night. And we stand on the shoulders of all those that have gone before us, and I think there are moments like important moments in our life, like last night for Mitt, where I'm sure his father was with him.
How did you celebrate after?
As you might imagine, with all of the grandchildren. Again, all these little ones, I don't think they had more fun in their lives than that balloon drop. And I don't know if you know, George, but they were down in the stairs.
Oh, we were watching.
And some of them are pretty little. And when the third, oh my gosh, when some of the balloons were falling, I was in my heels and I was diving down, because I thought some of them were buried in there. We couldn't even find them. But they had such a great time. And then afterwards, they all came up to the room. It was very late for them, as you might imagine. They were very little, but it didn't matter. They were screaming and jumping on their grandfather, and we were so proud of him.
I love seeing all those untucked shirts up on the podium. You've made no secret that the first time around, when you and the governor were running 4 years ago, that it wasn't the easiest thing in the world for you, that it was pretty tough at times.
No.
But you were also even more convinced after the first run that Governor Romney should run again than he was. Why?
Well, for me, I joked. It was like I really did say to him after the last run I would never do this again. And yet I was the first one this second time round to say, you have no choice, you must run again. And it was because of his real-world experience and his ability to turn things around, his involvement in operations where I'd seen him have very, very difficult situations and be able to bring certain expertise to turning very difficult situations around. And in my speech, I don't know if you heard me say this very emphatically, this man will not fail.
I have to ask you, what was going through your head last night when you were watching Clint Eastwood?
Well, I was grateful for his support.
Was Mr. Eastwood's speech a surprise?
No, I frankly hadn't given it much thought. I didn't even know he was going to come on stage.
One final question. You said you're convinced your husband is going to succeed. He does not fail. Have you been able to give much thought to the kind of role you'd like to play if indeed Governor Romney becomes president?
For a long time, many years, I've spent working with at-risk youth. And my concern is making sure that every child lives their fullest potential. So I would hope that I'd be able to work with at-risk youth.
Well, congratulations on the convention, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, George.